Well, welcome back, guys. It is definitely August, and I know everybody has hopefully had a great summer, and we're ready to get started. We have a few things this week that we're going to deal with and that we're going to go through, so I just want you to sit back and relax and listen to what I've got to say. While y'all were on summer break over the summer, I spent some time doing some research on different ideas of how to get the students more involved, how to create better lessons for ourselves, and hopefully found some new ways for us to go through and have better achievement on some of the problem areas that we need to work on. So, again, welcome back. If you'd like to take notes, go ahead and do so. Otherwise, just sit back and listen. Some of this will require you to be involved, so don't go to sleep. You'll need to make sure that you are paying attention. But I am going to talk to you about an interesting way to create your lessons. So, backwards design. Some of you may have heard of it, some of you maybe not. It was pretty new to me the first time I heard of it. Most of us create our lessons and our units from the beginning. We decide, okay, on Monday they're going to have homework over this, and I'm going to teach these vocab words, and we're going to take these notes. And then on Tuesday we're going to do this assignment, and on Wednesday we're going to have a quiz, and maybe by Friday we will get to a short test or a unit test or whatever it might be. So for the most part, most of us create our designs and our lessons and our units, for that matter, by starting from the beginning instead of the end. So as you can tell from the word backward design, we are going to start from the end. So no more looking at our standards and starting from the front and starting from Monday. Let's say we're going to start from Friday, where our end would definitely be. Okay, and I know we all love Fridays, so hopefully this will be easy for us to do. And once you get in the habit of doing this, I think it'll be so much easier. So backwards design is just a way for us to hopefully involve the students more, engage them more, help ourselves as well as them when it comes to teaching our lessons and doing our lessons and doing what we need to do. And we use it because it should be the way that we teach. We should not start a lesson or a unit or anything for that matter if we don't have an end goal in mind. You know, if you think about other things that you do, not just teaching in the classroom, but things that you do at home or whatever, there's always an end goal in mind. And as some of you know, my kids raise animals, so I'll use that as an example. We don't go out and buy animals for the kids to raise if there's not an end goal in mind. That would be crazy of me and of them to just have another living, breathing human animal at the house on feed that takes up my time, it takes up my energy, and takes up my money. So, just like those projects, we have an end goal in mind. We know what the end date is. We know what we plan on being, where we plan on being, and then we work backwards as to how much weight we need that animal to gain, where we need it to be at certain points, where we're going to go and practice, and all of that. Okay, so it's very similar to that. Some of you guys do that, some of you don't. Same thing with sports. You know, if you look at professional teams, their end goal is what? For football, to win the Super Bowl. Okay, they start with that in mind. That's their end goal. They want to win the Super Bowl. Then they back that up and say, okay, how can we do that? Well, they have a schedule and they have practices and they have places they have to be, things that they have to do, and they do that. So it's more common than you think. It's just maybe a little new to education and to teaching, and especially for some of you. But it'll work. It'll be easy. Hopefully you understand it by the time we get through with this today, and everybody hopefully will be a pro with this by the end of, I don't know, December, maybe Christmas time. You know, we'll see how it goes. But we are going to try it, and I have given you an example, so let's look at that. Okay, first, like I said before, you start with your desired results or goals, okay? For those kids in sports, it's maybe that they want to make it to state. For the FFA 4-H young farmers kids, they want to make the sale at the show, okay? So everybody has to have an end result. For us, for educators, our end result is that the students achieve and they learn and they know the standards and they know what they need to do to pass the test, because our end goal is to pass those tests. Even though I hate to say that, that is our end goal. We look into April and March and we want those kids to be able to pass that test. Okay, so that is our desired result or goal. Our determining assessment is, how are we going to do that? In small groups? Are we going to do that with classroom discussions? Are we going to use debates for history? You know, you can use some debates. You can throw some debates in there for science projects. Definitely, you know, some of the projects could be included in that. So for English, reading, writing, maybe writing an essay for those students would be your assessment for that project. So not just yes, no, true, false questions. Those are great, but they don't tell us, do the kids really know the material? Do they understand it? And can they apply it? So we need to think outside the box for that. And then lastly, we will plan those learning experiences. Okay, we will plan the day-to-day activities. We will plan the minute-to-minute activities. We will plan the group discussions. We will plan the group projects. We will plan the homework assignments, whatever that is, which is usually where we start. Okay, so like I said, instead of starting on Monday, we're going to start on Friday, and we're going to see how that goes, and we're going to do what we need to do. So I have created and used, obviously as a previous 6th grade math teacher, I have come up with an example of this using 6th grade math standards. Obviously these are going to change. So these are the old ones. Some of them change, some of them don't. This one I believe is going to stay, so I went ahead and decided to use this one, and we can all relate to this one. So I'm going to show you how, as a 6th grade math teacher, if I were to teach this specific standard to my students, where I would start and how I would do that process. Okay, so our example is going to be the 6th grade math, like I said. Step 1, remember, is starting with our goals. Identifying our desired results. What do the students need to be able to do? Okay, this is just your TEK, your standard from the state, whatever it might be. Okay, this is where you're going to start. So for us, I picked 6.2b, and 6.2b says use addition and subtraction to solve problems involving fractions and decimals. And yes, fractions becomes an issue for 6th graders with having to get common denominators, but they're able to do it. Decimals usually is a little bit easier, but some of them do still have a hard time, you know, lining up the decimals and adding them correctly and putting the correct place values there. If you need to use graph paper, I always let my students have access to graph paper to line up those decimals, put the numbers in the boxes, you know, show them how to do that, teach them how to do that. On the STAR tests at the end of the year, there is graph paper on those tests that they can use. So if they get in the habit of using that too, especially on those decimals, to line them up and add and subtract with them in line, that will help them. So we're going to look at the addition and subtraction of mainly the decimals is what I'm dealing with here. The fractions you could include, but I'm mainly going to look at the decimal part of this standard for right now, just so that you have an example. Okay, so step 2 is doing the assessment, and how would we get them there, and how will the students themselves demonstrate their knowledge and their understanding to us. So for my example of adding and subtracting decimals, I would use small group projects and presentations when they have completed this assignment. They would need to present these projects and their presentations to the class, And then when everybody has presented their projects and their presentations to the class, we would use an entire large group discussion with the classroom. And specifically on the projects and the presentations, I like to let the kids do a little shopping spree. I know girls might like this a little better than the boys. So when you do your small groups, make sure that you've got a couple of guys with a couple of girls. You can either do it out of magazines or out of sale ads. If they have computer access, that works great. I usually try to give them one specific store to shop at, specific clothing items that they have to buy, and let them go from there. You can also do it with grocery ads. I've had them make menus before for dinner. They're feeding people, and they can use grocery ads. Those usually have better decimals in them than sometimes the clothing items do. But I've done it both ways. So that would be my assessment at the end, that they can add and subtract the decimals like they need to. They would have to show me written down on a paper that they added and subtracted their decimals like they were supposed to, and present it to the class, show us what they bought, and then let everybody discuss as a group when they're done, did we do it correctly? Did we add and subtract our decimals correctly? And do we understand exactly what we're doing? And not only what we're doing, but why we're doing it. And that kind of leads into step 3, the learning experiences. Of course, we would need to introduce decimals. If they've never seen them before, some of them have, some of them haven't. If you get new 6th graders in from other schools, you would hope that they've seen decimals before, but you cannot always assume that. So you need to introduce decimals, talk about place value a little bit, come up with a few homework assignments, or some short classwork assignments that allows the kids to at least work on it before they're split into groups. Look at the websites, look at the stores, look at the grocery ads, explain to them, what the cent sign behind the numbers mean. The dollar sign, some of them understand that, some of them have never seen those before in their life. So it's a great time to expose them to that. And also discuss where we use decimals and why we use them again. Okay, and mainly, yes, in money. They need to be able to, when they get older, balance their checkbook and make sure they're getting paid the right amount of money that they are supposed to. I always have 6th graders that don't understand why they have to be able to add decimals and subtract decimals, and they don't want to do it and they don't do it correctly. I'd love to be their boss, because they don't know whether they're getting paid what they're supposed to. But we're going to discuss that before we ever start, before we go into the large group. So that's how I would use the backward design for 6th grade math for that specific teak of adding and subtracting decimals. So now what I want you to do is, I will answer any questions that you have, but I'd like for you to get with a partner, since we all teach 6th grade math, and you find a teak or a standard that you would like to do this with, and you guys come up with a backward design of how you would implement this into your everyday classroom. It may be something that you're already doing, it may be something new, but I want you to get with a partner and you guys do it, and I will give you about 15 or 20 minutes, and then let's discuss it as a large group. Okay, now that your time is up and we've discussed them and they were all great, and some of you have some great ideas, some of you it's still pretty new and it's some stuff that we need to work on, but you're getting there. Let's try to use this more and more, and I think it will help you and it will help your students, and it will be so much easier if you start from the end and work backwards. Okay, so I want you guys to enjoy your year, have fun. Don't worry, science, history, and English are going to get the same thing, and they're going to have to do it also. So it's not just you guys, but I wanted to start with you and see how you reacted, and it was great. So if you need anything, ask, let me know. You guys did great, and enjoy your year.